And we're back with more Warden and the Paunch multiplayer action, and this time we're showing off Archmages and an element of this DLC we haven't covered much yet. The Mistwalkers of TOR GAVAL and the creme de la creme of their kind, the Griffon Knights of TOR GAVAL. Yvres is a realm shrouded in mist and shadow, so the pilots who train in these conditions are breed unto themselves, some of the greatest wingmen in all of Ulthuan, and they better be, because the Dark Elves and Monster Girls are coming, and they're gonna come and cross-attack, and you better bet your bottom dollar that these three Griffons know how to handle business. I am playing as the High Elves, HDS is playing as the Dark Elves, and we figured early access would be a pretty good chance to show off some of these Griffon Knights, which I think are the highlight of the DLC, or at least up there near the top. Now, these are a campaign exclusive unit. They are not available in ranked or unit cap battles, and I wish they'd been added as an ROR instead, but for the cost of more than a Star Dragon, these beautiful beasties can take on pretty much any threat in the game. 11,000 HP, 300 weapon strength, and low model count, so it's not easy to kill any of the riders off. There's not a whole lot to them. Honestly, they play just like Royal Hippogriff Knights. Send them in, let them kill stuff, heal them up, and hope that they do well. Anchoring my battle line is an Archmage of the Lore of Life. Maybe not the most inspired pick ever, but if your entire strategy revolves around a monster kicking ass, you might as well invest in keeping that monster alive. Do love that model though. Living proof that love can bloom on the battlefield. Phoenix Guard, Lothern Sea Guard, Shadow Warriors, couple Spears, and the newly buffed White Lions of Krace round out the rest of the build. And I think their stats haven't improved pretty significantly. They're 38-40 now, which is quite a bit better than it was before, I think. They were maybe 36-38 with martial prowess before. On the flip side comes Malus Darkblade and his pirate buddies. Through hate, all things are possible, and he's fighting on foot with the Warp Sword of Cain, the Demon's Curse, the Blood Price, and Zarkan in his back pocket, ready to be called in a moment of need. Mages of Death and Beasts are flanking him, Spirit Leech and Transformation of Khadon, Witch Elves, Cold One Knights, and a Bloodwrack Shrine, which can be utterly devastating to the tightly packed formations that typify the High Elf infantry. They can kill you from range, it's mean what she can do from range, and in melee she's no less effective, buffing allies and debuffing enemies as she grinds opponents into paste. So, Black Ark Corsairs with handbows in the front ranks for a bit of skirmish power, and those are the builds for both sides. So, as this battle begins, there's one major advantage I really wanted to push: the range of Shadow Warriors. Dark Elves have two Brides of Cain on the field, and even though they do have that high physical resist, they're essentially naked, so they don't take arrows very well. Them and the Cold One Knights are the two units I really want to snipe out early. Bloodwrack Shrine is kind of a no-go. You really need Sisters of Avalorn or Bolt Throwers if you want a chance of shooting them down. But yeah, Malus on foot here I think is a really good idea. Spike can get gooned out or shot up pretty easily by the High Elves, but when he's on foot, he can help break through Phoenix Guard or White Lions without the risk of getting 3-shot by a dragon who lands on him from above, or in this case, the Knights of TOR GAVAL. Silverhelms won't beat Cold One Knights, gotta use them defensively to countercharge, and the Manticore summons diving into my archers aren't gonna make things any easier. So we're gonna play a bit of a scoot and shoot game as this battle starts. Yeah, the Bloodwrack Shrine's gonna make things a little bit more challenging though. Getting some good volleys into the Brides of Cain, but yeah, making up all that damage in one single projectile from that Medusa. And the Bloodwrack Shrine is such a crazy unit. It has so many ways to beat you. It plays like a standard bearer, like an Altar of Cain in melee, and like a Hellblaster volley gun from range. Look at the DPS that thing can unleash. It's so much damage that it can scream at you, and as soon as it lands in the middle of a tightly packed High Elf regiment, they're just gonna explode. It's just insta-jibs. It's like 15 models dead per shot, which most artillery in the game cannot even remotely come close to that kind of DPS. Now, obviously, it doesn't shoot across the map. It has relatively short range, but already, as their Spearman getting torn apart by these shots, and she's already up to almost 50 kills. That's crazy. But the Witch Elves aren't feeling much better. Focus fire from two Shadow Warriors and Lothern Sea Guard, filling them up like Leonidas at Thermopylae. Fighting in the shade is all well and good, but it works a bit better when you have a big-ass shield alongside. And that's so great when you're on a miniskirt. And Transformation of Khadon, Manticore summoned from the depths of the earth. Let's see what it decides to hunt down. Second Witch Elf unit now becoming the center of attention for the archers. Meanwhile, Malus is styling on some High Elf spears. One of the things we missed out on, because Tyrion, Malekith, and Krotgar almost never fight dismounted. You don't get to see them bust out the match combat animations very often. Damn, does it feel good when they do get bust out. Malus is going off and just destroying this front line. That's really what he's good at. when he's dismounted. He can just fight alongside all the infantry and easily turn any of those fights in the Druki's favor. But that Bloodwrack Shrine is severely messing up my archers, my Lothran Sea Guard, already down to half HP, and it's just time to send in the Knights. I was holding them back, I was waiting. I know the Cold One Knights are waiting in reserve, but I couldn't wait any longer. They have to go in and start causing some damage, or I'm just going to lose through a war of attrition. Bloodwrack Shrine doing too much damage, so the Griffons are into the fight now, and they are immediately going to make a huge impact. Literally running over the Brides of Cain, or what remains of them, slamming into the Dread Spears, terror routing it all immediately, and then they're going to go on and maybe move into the back lines. But those Cold One Knights waiting in reserve are the thing that I'm actually scared about. It's why I waited so long to send these in. I can't just go right into the heavy cav when they're backed up by the Bloodwrack Shrine and all the other things in the rear. The Black Dark Corsairs and all that will prove to be too much if I just YOLO in. But it's easy to say that when I'm watching the replay back. It's more challenging to prevent that in a practical battlefield scenario where you're microing elsewhere and you can forget some stuff. So now that the Phoenix Guard are stuck in, the Silverhelms have Flesh of Stone active on them on the left flank, fighting alongside the Knights of TOR GAVAL, and they're going right into melee with the Cold One Knights, while these flank all the way around and are looking to prey on top of the Shadow Warriors. My Spellcaster getting hunted by a Feral Manticore, and the Griffon Knights, what I had meant to do was pull them out, get back up in the air, and then come over the top to drop a devastating deuce on the Bloodwrack Shrine, but instead they loped along the ground like an antelope instead of taking flight, and instead they ran themselves directly into a hugely problematic engagement, which is where they're surrounded by Black Dark Corsairs and the Cold One Knights. Not a good fight brewing on that side, but a perfect rear charge from the White Lions of Praise will hopefully turn the middle fight in my favor until the Bloodwrack Shrine gets out of melee and starts shooting them with her projectile. That Scream is going to devastate them. That Psychic Emanation will just completely dumpster the White Lions, unfortunately. Not a whole lot to be said there. She's going to go into melee now, and it's going to get really, really bad for the infantry in the center. And the Knights of TOR GAVAL are completely surrounded. Overcast Regrowth to try to keep them in the fight can give them about 3,000 HP, so it might just. But you can see, even with 11,000 health, you can still die incredibly easily when you get fully surrounded like this. I'm trying desperately to pull away, and Malus Darkblade, surrounded by Phoenix Guard, decides to unleash Zarkan, the Drinker of Worlds. And this is a trade-off. He did have plenty of HP left as he does the titty shimmy, just showing off his goods. You know how he does. But he's trading a shorter life for Malus, for the ability to quickly delete the remnants of these Phoenix Guard and White Lions, who could tie up the center for quite a while longer. Transforming to Zarkan will break the center incredibly quickly and allow him to charge forth and shut down the Shadow Warriors and end this game here and now. If he was in regular Malus formation, he wouldn't be able to do that so well. But the Knights of TOR GAVAL did manage to escape, barely. Look at that, slivers of HP, which on them is still a pretty decent amount left, and all three models are still alive. But yes, his transformation broke those Phoenix Guard almost immediately, and now he's pushing through, and my entire back line is suddenly in huge disarray. It could get really bad as the Cold One Knights come in from behind. The Sorceress and the Lore Beastcasters charge in from the front. Malus gets close as well, the Bloodwrack Shrine. All of that is starting to look really iffy, and the only thing left is for my Spellcaster to charge into melee and slice up a Cold One Knight. Badass, but look at that disaster behind her. Bloodwrack Shrine coming in, Raptors clever girling their ways into my Shadow Warriors and eating them for dinner. And now it's going to be up to my Knights of TOR GAVAL. Another regrowth going their way will get them healed up decently and hopefully allow them to land again and chase off the Cold One Knights. I can't really go in with the Bloodwrack Shrine and Malus and the two Sorceresses there. I think that would be too much, and I realize I have to sack my Life Mage. She doesn't have a lot of Winds of Magic left anyway, but I really can't protect her at this point. She's just getting completely gooned up. And it's probably a good thing, actually, that he decided to go so hard in killing her, because now it's opening up other parts of the battlefield for the Knights of TOR GAVAL to land and start shredding stuff there. So look at all these Black Dark Corsairs and Dread Spears chasing after my Shadow Warriors. Knights of TOR GAVAL can go in, and they'll terror out everything on that side. Yeah, my Life Mage is going to get murdered, probably. She's not going to be long for this world at this point, but look at this. Carnage. Pure carnage unleashed in the Druki battle lines. And, oh, Bloodwrack Shrine, another shot into the Shadow Warriors. And this is another thing that's important to note here. Shadow Warriors are actually decent in melee, so might be able to cause some carnage in close quarters combat. But, oh, this is going to get so... Why did you have to do that? She should not be getting her head sliced off, dude. That just feels so wrong. But it's Dark Elves, and it's Warhammer, And that's what this universe is known for. You take a character you really like, and then just slice their head off. That's pretty much how things go. No one gets a good ending in Warhammer Fantasy. And she definitely didn't. It was a hard way to die. Thankfully, it was relatively painless anyway. Knights of TOR GAVAL are pissed that their lord just went down in that horrible manner. Dismemberment is not a fun way to go, and so they're gonna do the same thing to this Bloodwrack shrine, and look at its HP bar plummet. It was at 4,100 when the charge came in, now down to 1,600, 1,300, 900, and then 2 more attacks, and that's gonna be all that's required. Spirit Leech trying to get them off her, and it's gonna be too little too late. 180 HP, final attack, rips her from her seat, and the shrine goes down in seconds. Very few units in the game can unleash that kind of DPS that quickly. The Sorceress of Beast, who sliced the head off my poor Life Mage. The Archmage, surrounded by Silver Helms and Shadow Warriors, and she's cut down as well. And suddenly, what looked like a disaster for Yvresse has completely turned around, and Zarkan has run out of steam. No more stamina for him. He just died in a really embarrassing manner, actually, running around. He's like, oh, you know, I'm tired, I'm gonna take a nap here. Knights of TOR GAVAL now just go into melee, and they're going to put the nail in the coffin for the Dark Elves. Tanking through so much that battle. It was pretty crazy. 87 kills, 3 chevrons, and held up a huge portion of the Druchii battle lines. They were great for me. They were everywhere for me, but regrowth was really what kept them in the fight after that missed micro. I tried to get them in the air to come in over the top. They stayed on the ground and instead ran right into the clutches of some Cold One Knights and Black Ark Corsairs. Now, to be fair, that's not a lot of anti-large and AP to take them down. It's just the Cold One Knights that were scary for them. So it's not massively surprising they were able to survive that, considering that the Black Ark Corsairs don't offer a whole lot in CQB in that situation. But yeah, I mean, they still almost died. I had to invest a lot in keeping them alive. Now, the big thing there was the transformation into Zarkan. I will say, even if he hadn't done that right away and had waited for a later time in the battle, it is very possible that Malus would have still been left on an island and the Knights of TOR GAVAL would have gotten a full surround off and killed him anyway. So I'm not sure that the early transformation was such a bad idea to break through the Phoenix Guard and White Lions and get into the Shadow Warriors, because he saw an opportunity to end the game right then and there. It just didn't work out. But even if he didn't do that, I'm not sure it would have changed the outcome. The Knights of TOR GAVAL had enough HP there. They would have really, I think, messed up Zarkan as well. But the Bloodwrack Shrine is one of those units that maybe you don't see that often, but its ability to kill you from range and in melee is so impressive. The only thing it couldn't stand up to were the Knights of TOR GAVAL, who got that full surround off and then sent it from full HP down to 0 in only a handful of seconds. Really exciting battle, and super stoked to see Griffon Knights make it in for the High Elves.